Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm Muhammad Nazim. Today is my first appearance in front of you, and inshallah I'll be there with you for 45 lectures. Organizations operating in the world today are more or less in the similar situation as you are, because the world has changed a lot, and it's changing very fast. For the organizations to survive, to sustain, and to develop, they too have to change. And that's why the organizations are changing according to the demand of the time. ये जो सब्जेक्ट मैं आपको पढ़ाने जा रहा हूं, ये इन सारी चीजों को कवर करेगा. How do these organizations change, and changing so rapidly? And likewise, the people who are working in these organizations कैसे अपने आप को adapt कर रहे हैं quickly, जैसे आज आप करेंगे. That is why this subject is important. And as you know, the subject deals with organization development. मैंने आपसे कहा कि world has turned upside down. अगर हम 20-25 साल पीछे जाएं तो हम देखें कि दुनिया एक बहुत मुख्तलिफ दुनिया थी. लोगों के ढंग संग बिल्कुल अलग थे, मिजाज लोगों का डिफरेंट था. लेकिन आज हमने अपना मिजाज, अपना ढंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के चेंज होने के साथ, दुनिया के चेंज होने के साथ चेंज किया. Today, companies are pouring money, technology, management expertise into regions that were once off limit. They are acquiring new enterprises, they are forming joint ventures, and they are creating new global businesses. And because of these compulsions, business organizations downsizing कर रही हैं. They are outsourcing, they are re-engineering, they are flattening the organizations. अब वो hierarchy खत्म कर रही हैं, management hierarchies खत्म कर रही हैं, and they are doing jobs with automation and computers. जब organizations इतनी बदल रही हैं, तो obviously it is natural organizations में काम करने वाले बंदे भी उनको अपना मिजाज, अपना काम करने का तरीका बदलना पड़ रहा है. Some experts said it so beautifully that if you can describe a job precisely or write down rules for doing it, the job will probably not survive. आपको ये सुनकर बड़ी हैरानगी होगी कि अगर हम जॉब्स को ब्रेक डाउन कर दें इन स्मॉल पार्ट्स और इस तरीके से करें कि वो रूल्स फॉर परफॉर्मिंग दैट जॉब्स बड़े क्लियर हों और उनको हम रिपीट कर सकें, तो ये जॉब ज्यादा देर सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकेंगी. क्यों? Machines will replace people. That is exactly what has happened in the world today. मैंने कहा आप 25 साल पीछे जाएं, robots were not there, or if they were there, very scarcely used. आज machines, computers replace कर रही हैं. कुछ साल पहले आप बैंक में जाते थे पैसा निकलवाने के लिए. You used to fill a check, give it to the teller or to the person sitting in front of the counter in the bank. वो जाता था, चेक करता था whether there was money in your account, and then would give you back the money you asked for. आज जब offices बंद होते हैं, जब banks बंद होते हैं, who is doing that job? ATM machines. Similarly, exactly the same performance that the teller does in the morning, ATM machine almost has replaced that person working in the bank. In a way, आज जो जॉब मैं परफॉर्म कर रहा हूं, I'm teaching you. I don't know. Tomorrow हो सकता है एक ऐसा रोबोट इजाद हो जाए जिसके अंदर ये सारा डेटा, सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो मुझ में है, अगर चली जाए, perhaps that robot would be performing the same duty or the same thing which I am doing today. लेकिन ताहाल कम से कम इतना हिस्सा टेक्नोलॉजी ने मेरी पर्सनैलिटी से ले लिया है कि आज जो मेरी टेप पे रिकॉर्डिंग हो रही है, tomorrow when I'm not there, the CD or the tape will be performing exactly the same job. It is really a very dangerous development, but somehow we must realize that that is what is happening in the world because of automation, because of the rapid change in the technology. In the past, people working in the organizations, and especially the managers, were working in a very stable environment. They were working in an environment which was predictable. The world was very stable. Therefore, they could predict कि आने वाले वक्त में क्या उन्होंने करना है. और वो टाइम लैग बहुत ज्यादा था. 21st century is a hyper turbulent environment. Economies rapidly change हो रही हैं. Consumer की styles, उनके demands भी बड़ी rapidly change हो रहे हैं. Therefore, the manager of today has to be different, and the manager of today is different from the past. आज के मैनेजर में बहुत सी वो क्वालिटीज हैं जो कि कल के मैनेजर्स में नहीं थी. आज का मैनेजर बहुत फ्लेक्सिबल है, वो अडेप्टेबल है विद द चेंजिंग एनवायरनमेंट. और सबसे बड़ी कि उस मैनेजर में ये खासियत है, ये खूबी है कि वो प्रॉब्लम्स को डायग्नोज कर सकता है, एंड देन अबव ऑल कैन इंप्लीमेंट चेंज प्रोग्राम्स. ये चीजें, ये चार चीजें, देयर कुड बी मैनी मोर, ये आज के मैनेजर में बहुत जरूरी है. आप आज जब मुझे सुन रहे हैं, टुमारो इंशाल्लाह you'll be managers. You need to develop these skills. और ये skills इंशाल्लाह इस कोर्स के अंदर मैं कवर करूंगा. And you will have to learn these techniques so that you could be a better manager, an efficient manager working in an adaptable environment. Now, the major question which you need to know is, how can you be an adaptable manager? मैंने जैसे कहा कि इंशाल्लाह इस कोर्स में हम बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें सीखेंगे जो कि आप में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, अडेप्टेबिलिटी एंड द कैपेसिटी टू डायग्नोज थिंग्स, इसके लिए कुछ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मुझ पे भी आती कि आज जो मैं आपको कोर्स पढ़ा रहा हूं वो इस तरीके से पढ़ाऊं कि वो स्टूडेंट जो कल का स्टूडेंट था, जो कल क्लास में बैठकर सिर्फ लेक्चर सुनता था और सिंपली रीडिंग के बाद क्रैमिंग करके इम्तिहान देता था, that time is over. That role was a passive role, and I do not want you to play that role anymore. I am going to take up a slightly innovative and a significantly different approach. I'll be presenting some cases where you'll be required to diagnose problems rather than simply reading about them. Tom Peters, who's a very popular quality guru, suggests that the time for 10% job cuts and 20% quality improvement is gone. What he means to say is that you can no more reform organizations simply by cutting down, downsizing, or only improving the quality of the product. There's something more required. He says that since the time has changed a lot and the global situation has emerged in a different shape altogether, the old conventional methods of management and dealing with the people likewise have changed. So therefore management style needs to be changed as well. लिहाजा मैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट में आपको दोबारा उन चीजों पे लेके जाऊंगा जो शायद आपने दूसरे कोर्सेज में पढ़ी हो, बट वी विल लुक एट दोज थिंग्स इन अ वेरी डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव एंड वी विल सी हाउ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस are behaving, how are they interacting with the different components which are having a marked influence on the organization itself because of the situation which is emerging globally. Let me show you a picture where you find that organization is in the center and the things which are around that organization, the external factors and the internal factors which are influencing the performance of the organization are more or less the same which were there 20, 30 years ago. Unions are there, stockholders are there, government, customers, suppliers, competitors, stockholders and stakeholders are the same. मगर जैसे मैंने आपको शुरू में कहा कि मिजाज बदल गया है, अब काम करने का अंदाज बदल गया है. टेक द केस ऑफ यूनियंस. आज की यूनियन और 20 साल पहले की यूनियन में बहुत फर्क है. You can no more afford to treat the employees, the workers, in the same way you used to do 20 years ago. आज का worker is a knowledge worker. Today, it's not the competition, it's the cooperation. You have to renew the groups rather than they starting infighting. They start creating friction. You have to create safe working environment for the people. You have to involve them in decision making because आज के worker के पास almost वही information है जो कि manager के पास है, senior manager के पास है. So therefore you will see in organization development, मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि कैसे जब हम organizations को reform करेंगे, कैसे हम उनको transform करेंगे, तो हमें सारे अपने workers को, managers को, employees को अपने साथ लेकर जाना पड़ेगा. So therefore, the patron of the people working in an organization, जो उनका influence है organization पे, वो बहुत important है और उनका role बदल गया है. एक और important component जिसका बड़ा marked effect है organization पे, वो है customers. आज का customer is looking for greener products. They are looking for cleaner products. You can no more produce something and you can dump the waste in the air or in the streams. They are very conscious. They are ready to pay more money, but they want the organization, the production cleaner ho. And that's why the organizations, they are going in for cleaner technologies. आज का कस्टमर ये भी डिमांड कर रहा है कि आप अपने वर्कर्स को कैसे ट्रीट कर रहे हैं. So altogether the scenario has changed. Governments, they are under certain obligations because they have signed certain international treaties. Climate change treaty sign की हुई है. World Trade Organization के साथ उन्होंने कई treaty sign की हुई हैं. So therefore, the organizations are under pressure. अब in isolation में कोई organization काम नहीं कर सकती. Stockholders हैं जिन्होंने कंपनी के अंदर शेयर्स लगाए हैं, जिन्होंने फंडिंग की हुई है, फाइनेंशियल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं. आप आज वो कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, गुड गवर्नेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, अपने गुड इमेज की बात कर रहे हैं. इट इज नो मोर फोकस्ड ऑन सिंपली मेकिंग प्रॉफिट्स. सप्लायर्स हैं, यू हैव टू हैव अ वेरी क्लोज रिलेशनशिप विद द सप्लायर्स बिकॉज टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत जल्दी ऑब्सोलीट हो रही है. And you have to keep on upgrading, incorporating cleaner technologies. Competitors के साथ अब आपका different role है. Competition के साथ collaboration है, cooperation है. Both of you want to survive. अगर आप cutthroat competition करेंगे, which in a way is healthy, but at the same time, there are certain norms which have been established so that we all have to survive. Because बहुत सारी organizations जब एक ही चीज produce कर रहे हैं, they have to realize that not one single organization can do it. So ये सारा सिनारियो बदल गया है. इस वजह से आज की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे इतने फैक्टर्स जब इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहे हैं, तो we have, and you as a student have to look at how these different stakeholders would interact and how would the organizations accommodate the input from these external and internal forces. Now, because of these rapidly changing conditions of the past few years, organizations are in the midst of unprecedented uncertainty and chaos. And nothing short of a management revolution will save them. As a matter of fact, in global economy, एक बड़ी chaotic situation है. लिहाजा managers जो हैं, उनको बड़ा revolutionary होना पड़ेगा. Let's look at what are the trends that are influencing change in the organizations. I'm going to only name 3 things. एक, मैं ग्लोबलाइजेशन की बात करूंगा, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करूंगा, और तीसरी मैनेजमेंट इनोवेशन की बात करूंगा. ये 3 ट्रेंड्स जो हैं, इन्होंने कंपोजिशन ही बदल दी, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस का हुलिया ही बदल दिया. लिहाजा लेट मी टेक ग्लोबलाइजेशन. आज आप किसी डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर में चले जाते हैं एंड यू वांट टू बाय अ प्रोडक्ट. You have got so many choices. At times you are bamboozled. आप परेशान हो जाते हैं. आप पानी की बोतल खरीदना चाहते हैं, बॉटल्ड वाटर खरीदना चाहते हैं, तो वहां लोकल फिल्ड बॉटल भी पड़ी हुई है और वहां पेरिस फ्रांस से आया हुआ स्प्रिंग वाटर भी पड़ा है। आप एक प्रोडक्ट, एक साबुन खरीदना चाहते हैं, 50 वैरायटीज पड़ी हैं। सपोजिंग यू आर गेटिंग मैरिड और आप अपने घर फ्लावर अरेंजमेंट्स कराना चाहते हैं, यू कैन इंपोर्ट ट्यूलिप्स फ्रॉम हॉलैंड। अमेजिंग। इट नेवर was possible, it never was thought of years ago. आप अमेरिका में बैठे हो, आप दुबई में बैठे हो, गर्मी का मौसम है, आप लंगड़ा आम खाना चाहते हैं, you can find it there in the market or you can order it. आज आप अपने मुल्क में देखें, फूड चेन्स को देख लें, हमारे लोकल रेस्टोरेंट्स, दे आर कंपीटिंग विद इंटरनेशनल मल्टीनेशनल फूड चेन्स। हो सकता है वहां थोड़ा सा नुकसान हुआ हो लोकल इंडस्ट्री को, लेकिन ओवरऑल बिकॉज ऑफ द कंपटीशन द क्वालिटी हैज इंप्रूव्ड। और बड़ी सिंपल एग्जांपल विच यू मस्ट हैव नोटिस्ड, आज से 20 साल पहले फिलिंग स्टेशंस और फिलिंग सर्विसेज, पेट्रोल स्टेशंस had a different face altogether. Amazingly, you go there and you find the difference in the service. It is because multinationals have come and the local stations, they're competing. Definitely, management style badla hai. So keeping this in mind, that globalization का इतना marked effect हुआ है world over, okay, suddenly organizations को अपने अंदर चेंजेस इनकॉर्पोरेट करनी पड़ी। दूसरी चीज मैंने आपको कहा, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी ने हुलिया बिगाड़ के रख दिया। मैंने इसे हुलिया बिगाड़ के रख दिया, आई मीन नाउ इंफॉर्मेशन इज अवेलेबल टू द सीनियर मैनेजर एंड द वन एट द लोअर एंड। इट इज इजीली एक्सेसिबल एंड इट्स ऑल्सो नॉट वेरी एक्सपेंसिव। इंफॉर्मेशन इज इनएक्सपेंसिव। देयरफॉर मैंने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले कहा कि यूनियंस का रिलेशनशिप बदल गया। इट्स ओनली बिकॉज इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी हैज प्रोवाइडेड देम इंफॉर्मेशन एंड दे वांट टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द डिसीजन मेकिंग। सेकेंडली, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से डाउन साइजिंग हुई है, डीलेयरिंग हुई है। जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में डिफरेंट लेयर्स थे अब वो ग्रेजुअली खत्म हो रहे हैं, रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग हो रही है, ओनली बिकॉज of the information technology. आज मैं यहां बैठा हुआ, I can provide consultancy services anywhere in the world. So look at the transformation. मैंने कहा globalization, information technology ने कितनी transformation की। Third, managerial innovation. Because of globalization and because of information technology, मैनेजर्स ने भी अपना वर्किंग का अंदाज बदल दिया। दे हैड नो चॉइस। मैंने कहा कि मैनेजरियल इनोवेशंस इंट्रोड्यूस करनी पड़ी क्योंकि इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी आ गई और ग्लोबलाइजेशन वाज फास्ट स्प्रेडिंग एवरीवेयर। मैनेजमेंट इनोवेशन कैसे आई, मैं आपको यही की मिसाल देता हूं। आज you are seeing me delivering lecture from a remote area, from a remote place for you. You're not sitting in a college and you are going to get a degree. Virtual university is entirely a management innovation hai, a new way of delivering information, education, technology, preparing managers for new industries. Today, you don't have to come to the college. You don't have to come to the schools. You even won't be coming to the examination hall to take the test. This is innovation which has happened. So, नया manager कैसा है? Flexible है, adaptable है, and above all, आज का manager is paying to his employees, to his workers, to his colleagues, according to the performance, not according to the time a person is spending in the and the office. So management innovation entirely has changed the complexion of the organizations. A question I would like to ask you is that what makes one organization a winner and the other a loser, although both have the same opportunities? ये क्या चीज है? कौन से ऐसे फैक्टर्स हैं कि इन दिस कंपेटिटिव मार्केट, जैसे मैंने आपको कहा, आप किसी डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर्स में चले जाएं, you've got variety of choices. You want to buy a carton of milk and you find 5 products lying over there, but one is selling like hot cake, the other is not. हालांकि सारे प्रोडक्ट्स जितने हैं सबको इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिल रही हैं. What is that? जवाब उसका ये है that the key to survival and success lies not in the rational quantitative approaches, but rather in a commitment to irrational, difficult to measure things like people, quality, customer service, and more importantly, developing the flexibility to meet changing conditions. I'm sure that you must have been very confused. मैंने आपको कहा है कि सर्वाइवल और सक्सेस के लिए you have to make irrational and difficult to measure choices. For a moment you must be saying, I'm out of my mind to tell you कि rational और quantitative approach से organization survive नहीं कर सकती. And I'm going to explain to you, or I'll give you a very good example which happened with me. Once I was traveling from Europe, coming back to Pakistan, and at one of the duty-free shops at Amsterdam, Holland, I picked up my popular brand of French cologne. I bought that, came back to Pakistan, and kept on using for 1 or 2 months. That was an vaporizer था, और one has to push it और उसके अंदर से फिर वो spray निकलता था. After using it for 2 or 3 months, I discovered that very little amount of perfume comes out of it. Certainly there was a manufacturing fault in it, but I by the time had consumed almost 1/4 of the bottle. But since it was an expensive cologne, I didn't want to throw away the bottle. I was not very happy with that brand. And as the luck would have it, I happened to be in Paris after about 1.5 years. I was walking down the lane and suddenly I saw वही branded shop जिसका product मैं इस्तेमाल करता था. I walked in, I saw the girl over there and I told her my problem. I said, I'm carrying a bottle which is your brand, which is your product, but somehow I'm not very happy with it. उसने कहा कि bring that bottle to me the other day. Next day when I took that bottle, she saw it and said, yes, something wrong with this. And believe you me, there and then, she picked up a fresh piece from the shelf, gave it to me. I told her that मैंने इसको तकरीबन 1.5-2 साल पहले खरीदा था. मेरे पास रिसीट भी नहीं है. खरीदा भी मैं एम्स्टरडैम से, वापस मैं पेरिस में करा. Doesn't matter. Rather, she was very apologetic. I'm very sorry. You must have been very disappointed not using your favorite brand. That was not to me, that was a very strange decision. आज हम अपने मुल्क में अगर इस तरह से ऑपरेट करें तो perhaps सेल्समैन या तो उसको मैनेजर से पूछना पड़ेगा या वो कहेगा नहीं, गारंटी खत्म हो गई. But this was, when I say the quantitative approach, this was an irrational decision because account for कैसे करेगी वो organization? But certainly it was their brand, लिहाजा difficult to explain decisions करते. And that is why that brand is still very popular and the company is surviving. नई organizations को ऐसी choices करनी पड़ेगी. If I give you another example, supposing you are running a hospital, and at the same time somebody else is running an education institute, और तीसरा बंदा एक profitable organization चला रहा है, क्या तीनों organizations की management practices एक जैसी होंगी? Supposing in a hospital, if someone brings a patient who is dying, needs emergency treatment, और वो छोड़ के चला जाता है, would you leave the patient? Let the patient die? Not at all. But yours is a private hospital. Somebody has to pay for that services. No, not at all. You won't do it. Although, in economic terms, it's not a rational decision, but you have to make some choices where you think life is more important. आने वाले दौर में ऐसी ही चीजें आपको incorporate करनी पड़ेंगी if you want your organization to survive and flourish. आइए अब हम देखें what is organization development. अगर आप organization development को analyze करें तो there are two words, organization and development. Let me define both these words first. What is an organization? An organization is the planned coordination of the activities of a number of people for the achievement of some common explicit purpose or goal through division of labor and functions and through a hierarchy of authority and responsibility. ये आपने definition पहले ज़रूर सुनी होगी. And I need not a lot of time explaining to you because you understand. Certainly, organization, people get together for a common goal, for a common vision, for a common objective, under a certain pattern of hierarchy, working together to achieve those goals. Next word is development. For an organization to develop, change must occur. Obviously, अगर organization develop करना चाहती है, तो change आना चाहिए. But development does not mean growth, because growth can take place with or without development. And again, I must be confusing you. How is it that organization को हम develop भी करना चाहते हैं और हम कहते हैं वो grow ना करे? This is यहां slight एक miscomprehension है, यहां misconception है जहां लोग अक्सर डेवलपमेंट को गलत समझते हैं. मैंने जैसे कहा कि डेवलपमेंट के लिए ग्रोथ जरूरी नहीं. अगर मैं आपसे कहूं कि आप कभी कब्रिस्तान गए, आपने वहां कब्रों को बढ़ते हुए देखा, एक कब्रिस्तान में आज 100 हैं, कुछ देर के बाद 500 हो जाए. द ग्रेवयार्ड इज ग्रोइंग. डज इट मीन दैट डेवलपमेंट इज टेकिंग प्लेस? आपके घर के बाहर कूड़े का ढेर पड़ा हुआ है, सारे मोहल्ले वाले वहां आके कूड़ा फेंकते हैं, and the heap is growing. Does it mean that the development is taking place? No. Development is not necessarily growth, because development is something more than growth. It is enhancing the capacity. It is enhancing the organization's internal potential. It is betterment of the people and the organization itself. अगर मैं अब development को explain करूं, it would be an increase in capacity and potential, not an increase in attainment. That is, it has less to do with how much one has than with how much one can do with whatever one has. अगर आपके पास पैसा बढ़ता जा रहा है, does it mean that you are developing? A country which is sitting on a big reservoir of oil but cannot pump it out into a tank of a car, does it mean that the development is taking place? A country might have a very big ore, gold mines हैं उसके पास, but doesn't have the capacity to extract it. Does it mean कि development वहां हो रही? No. Combining these two words, organization and development, OD is anything which betters the organization. That is, उसकी capacity भी बढ़ रही है organization की, और attainment enhancing its potential. That is what is the meaning of development. Now, combining these two words together, organization and development, I can deduce, I can infer that OD is anything done to better an organization. क्योंकि मैंने आपको पहले बताया कि it is not necessarily growth, but it is bettering the situation, the whole organization में functioning, लोगों की betterment, functioning and other things. So bettering an organization, if that is OD, then any manager, if applies this to his organization and starts hiring people with needing skills, or firing incompetent people, or merging with other organizations, या replacing people with machine, then certainly that manager is bettering the organization. वो उसके अंदर इंप्रूवमेंट ला रहा है, प्रोडक्टिविटी इंक्रीज हो रही है, इनएफिशिएंट लोगों को निकाल रहा है, मर्जर्स कर रहा है. Would you call this organization development? No. जैसे मैंने पहले कहा आपको कि जहां ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इंप्रूवमेंट लाना हमारा मकसद है, लेकिन एक बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन है कि ये इंप्रूवमेंट कैसे लाई जा रही है. इट इज नॉट अ पीसमील अप्रोच. जैसे टॉम पीटर की वो डेफिनेशन याद रखिए. नॉट दैट उसमें प्राइस कट हो रही है 10%, या आप उसकी लोगों की जॉब्स 20% रिड्यूस कर रहे हैं एंड ओवरऑल रेवेन्यू को इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं. इससे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अच्छी मैनेजमेंट हो रही है. नॉट एट ऑल. Organization development is entirely different. The term OD must be given added meaning and must refer to something more specific. Organization development की खूबसूरती ये है कि जहां वो organization में changes लाता है, उसके साथ साथ overall organization development के through organization का complexion भी change. Lihaza, what is the new definition? Organization development is an effort which is planned. It's organization-wide. It is managed from the top. It increases organization effectiveness and health through planned intervention in the organization processes using behavioral science knowledge. And this definition was given by one of the very famous OD practitioner, Richard Beckard. I want you to remember his name because sometimes I'll tell you what his other contributions were. Amazingly, this man, Richard Beckard, came from a very different field altogether, from theater, but he was more interested in improving the effectiveness in the communication skills. And later on, he ended into national training laboratories. ये भी लफ्ज़ याद रखिएगा, मैं आगे आपको बताऊंगा when I talk about the evolution of the organization development, कि national training laboratories कैसे इमर्ज हुई और वहां रिचर्ड बेकार्ड जैसे लोग गए और इन्होंने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट को बहुत इंप्रूव किया, इसके अंदर चेंजेस लेकर आए. तो ये डेफिनेशन रिचर्ड बेकार्ड की क्लियरली फोकसेस ऑन 6 things. That is, it is an effort which is planned. Anything which is not planned is not organization development. It has to be well thought over. और आगे चल के मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि प्लानिंग डज नॉट मीन प्लानिंग इन आइसोलेशन. दैट द टॉप मैन CEO थिंक्स कि गुड मैनेजमेंट चाहिए एंड ही कम्स आउट विद अ प्लान. नो, कैसे प्लान आगे मैं आपको बताऊंगा. बट जस्ट फॉर द टाइमिंग रिमेंबर दैट OD इज एन एफर्ट व्हिच इज प्लान्ड. सेकंड, इट इज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाइड. ये जो स्ट्रेटजी है ऑफ OD, इट हैज टू बी होलिस्टिक, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाइड. ये नहीं आपने एक डिपार्टमेंट के अंदर तो चेंजेस ले आए, गुड गवर्नेंस ले आए, बट द अदर इज नॉट. आइसोलेशन में नहीं. इट हैज टू बी, दूसरा पॉइंट, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाइड. तीसरा, इट हैज टू बी मैनेज्ड फ्रॉम द टॉप. द टॉप मैन नीड्स टू बी कमिटेड टू दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट. अगर उसकी कमिटमेंट, उसकी सपोर्ट, उसका विजन इसके अंदर नहीं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सकती. And fourthly, it is brought through interventions in the organization processes. इसके लिए interventions होंगी. कौन intervention करेगा मैं आपको later on बताऊंगा. क्योंकि जब तक आप सिस्टम के अंदर internal और external interventions नहीं करेंगे, उसका वर्किंग पैटर्न चेंज नहीं करेंगे, एंड मोस्टली इट विल बी सोशियो टेक्निकल इंटरवेंशंस. लोगों में भी इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोसेस में भी करना पड़ेगा. लिहाजा fourth is very important that there need to be interventions, and the fifth that this intervention must increase the organization effectiveness and health. अगर organization की effectivity increase नहीं होती, अगर overall उसकी health में फर्क नहीं आता, तो this is not organization development. And the sixth one is that the one who is introducing the change must use behavioral science knowledge. इसकी base scientific है. Now, it gives a very clear picture कि organization development is a very scientific approach. But even then, scientific doesn't mean कि crude science, जिसके अंदर इंसानी हमदर्दी का input ना हो. Behavioral science है, but based on certain scientific research. So ultimately, it boils down that OD is not just anything done to better an organization. It is a particular kind of change process designed to bring about a particular kind of end result. I think now you must have fairly understood that organization development में objectives बड़े clear हैं. That a specific change for attaining specific results. Now, from here, if I could summarize OD in slightly more detail, OD is a process of planned system change that attempts to make organizations, which are viewed as social technical systems, better able to attain their short and long-term objectives. This is achieved by teaching the organization members to manage their organization processes and culture more effectively. Facts, concepts, and theory from the behavioral sciences are utilized to fashion both the process and the content of the interventions. A basic belief of OD theorists and practitioners is that for effective, lasting change to take place, the system members must grow in the competence to master their own fates. Ab here, the definition is pretty elaborative. मैं शुरू हुआ defining the organization और फिर मैंने आपको growth की तरफ ले गया और मैंने बताया कि क्या growth can bring change? I said no, it has to better the organization. Then I said, does betterment include cutting down costs or cutting down people working in organizations? No. Here the definition is pretty elaborative. And it includes all those parameters which overall increase the effectiveness and health of the organization. An organization which comprises of people, which comprises of certain shared goals. After all, organizations are for the people, for the improvement of the families. And likewise, as I said earlier, corporate social responsibility में लोगों को अपने साथ लेकर चलना है. और मैंने शुरू में आपसे कहा कि डिसीजन टेकिंग के अंदर अगर आप अपने एम्प्लॉयज को इन्वॉल्व करेंगे, उनको रियलाइज कराएंगे what is their role, then as here mentioned in the definition, behavioral science change लाना है आपको. In my later lectures, I'll tell you one of the very important component of introducing organization development would be working on the culture. हमारा attitude, हमारा behavior and overall organization का culture क्या है, इसको कैसे change करना है. Mind it, changing the culture would be very difficult. But unless and until the culture is changed, working pattern is changed, the behavior and the interaction with people within the organization and outside, that is with the customers, things will not change. Organization will not change. Organization will not develop. यहाँ आपको fairly अच्छा एक impression, एक अच्छा idea मिल गया. Organization डेवलपमेंट के लिए ज़रूरी है कि उसकी फाउंडेशन बी बेस्ड ऑन साइंटिफिक रिसर्च, not on the technology, but as said, social technical systems overall. Organization को in totality, as an organization where people are working. लिहाजा जब मैं interventions की बात करूंगा, क्योंकि इसके अंदर एक component था that you need to have planned interventions in the organization processes. आगे इंशाल्लाह next lecture के अंदर मैं ये 6 जो components हैं, one by one I'll take them and explain it to you so that you may have a very clear picture, and if you do not understand this definition clearly, you will not be able to make certain changes with an organization you'll be working with. I am attempting this course with this idea that supposing you choose to be a manager and incorporate organizational development techniques, you should be fairly equipped with. Or otherwise, if you equip to be an OD consultant, then you should as well know, okay, what are the requirements, what are the needs, what are the compulsions of an organization which an OD consultant has to look for, and likewise, how those compulsions, needs, external forces can be kept in mind to bring a change in the organization. To sum up my lecture today, let me tell you कि आज मेरी intention, मेरी planning इस lecture की ये थी, I did not want you to go to this definition जो मैंने अब दी है straight away in the beginning. Had I done that, you would not have developed the thought process, जो impression आपने अब बनाया growth का, गालबन उस तरीके से ना बना सकते. In fact, I wanted to take you back so many years, 20, 25 years, and get an impression of how the things developed, how the things emerged, और अब हम आगे कहाँ जा रहे हैं. What I would like you to do is that till my next lecture, think on the various things which I pointed out. मैंने globalization की बात की. अब आइंदा जब आप कभी market में जाएं, when you go for shopping, I mean, look around things, think for a moment, what is that making the companies survive? What is making those products to keep themselves afloat जहां और इतनी competition है? You have to think also कि selling techniques क्या हैं, हमारी selling technique क्या है, और multinational organizations किस तरीके से कैसे changes ला रही हैं. Because आने वाला वक्त, as I said a couple of minutes ago, very chaotic. और जैसे टॉम पेटर्स ने कहा, it is not going to be that आप अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को अगर रिफॉर्म करना चाहते हैं, ट्रांसफॉर्म करना चाहते हैं, गुड मैनेजमेंट करना चाहते हैं, तो just in one area, in one pocket, you will do it and say, okay, I can survive. Not at all. Keep this definition. I'm going to revert again and again. And all these 6 areas जो मैंने आपको इस definition के अंदर बताए हैं, इनके बारे में आप भी सोचिएगा, and read it in advance when you come up to listen to my lecture. मैंने एक और बहुत चीज important point out की थी कि मेरे lectures अब traditional lectures नहीं होंगे. I'll be quoting lots of examples, what I say the OD in practices, and I would make you work. I don't want you to be a passive student anymore. Now come out of that shell, because you are going to be a manager of the future. And to be an adaptive manager, to be a manager who could foresee things, who could plan ahead, a manager who could diagnose problems, who could implement change. And when I say implement change, this is the change, okay, definition मैंने change कहा. That is behavioral science. And particularly in one of my lectures, I am going to focus on the culture aspect. कि कल्चर में रेजिस्टेंस कैसे आती है. यू मस्ट हैव नोटिस्ड हमारी अपनी कम्युनिटी में कि चेंज डजंट कम वेरी इजी. बेसिकली वी आर अ चेंज रेजिस्टेंट सोसाइटी, एंड नॉट ओनली अस, मोस्ट ऑफ द ईस्टर्न countries, they are change resistant. They take very long. We are traditional societies, and that's why in societies के अंदर जब transplantation होती है foreign organizations की, they bring along some cultural change that needs to be looked into. People are essential components, and they will have to be informed. They will have to be trained. उनकी thinking, उनका behavioral pattern, उनका attitude, इसके लिए आपने करना है. It's not me who's going to do it. Because once you go into the professional field, you will have to touch upon these things. मैं चाहूंगा कि आप put a sufficient focus on these things and start being an active contributor to this program, for which I'll be with you for almost 45 lectures. और वो आप active तभी हो सकते हैं जब you start diagnosing the problems from today. Look around. Be observant. Read. Interact. Think. And then cases को pick करें और ये application को याद रखें and start applying so that you could tomorrow easily implement the concepts जो मैंने आपको concepts आज थोड़े से दिए और आने वाले लेक्चर्स में दूंगा, उनकी आप प्रैक्टिकल डेमोन्स्ट्रेशंस कर सकें. आई होप you enjoyed the lecture, although there were lots of things which you might not have thought before. जैसे particularly I mentioned to you for change, in order to survive, in order to succeed, मैंने especially mentioned किया that you have to take certain irrational decisions and decisions which are not mentioned in the book. जरूर सोचिएगा उसके ऊपर, because हम जिंदगी में हमेशा ऐसे डिसीजंस नहीं ले सकते जो कि हमें क्लासरूम में पढ़ाए जाएं, या ऐसे डिसीजंस जो हमें हमारे सीनियर्स दें. We have to adapt. We have to, with the changing situation, changing environment, we have to pick up and see what works and what doesn't work. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed that too. और इंशाल्लाह आने वाले लेक्चर्स में I will be sharing a lot with you. Thank you. खुदा हाफिज.